Is astrology a guide to aid us in mastering the universe? This is the Cosmic Community Podcast with Galactic Ambassador Stacey Dredd. So this astrology report is for the week of November 5th, and we have made it into a new month. We are well on our way through Scorpio season. We've had a couple of planetary shifts. Both Mercury and Mars have entered new signs over this last weekend, and that really intense yet still new moon in Scorpio on the 1st of November. So a really beautiful entrance to the calendar month of November. And right now, it is that halfway point of fall. The 3 months we're about here right in the center of the season. And so it is a time of change and shift anyways. That first part of fall that's so beautiful with all of the leaves changing colors. And there's this great mix that's kind of things are like halfway alive and halfway on their way out to hibernation. But as we arrive into late Scorpio season and late fall, the reality of the cold, the reality of the hibernation, the reality of the winter in the Northern Hemisphere anyways, has become a strong reality, and things start to look quite different. Things start to look like they've gone past that point. There's more hibernation and more dead looking things outside than living. So we have shifted into this more hibernative, if that's a word, mode, where we get to go inside. We pull our energies in. And we just had the time change. That's been doing things to my internal clock as well. So this week we have some pretty important interplay with the nodes of fate. We have Mercury making some aspects there, and we also have a pretty powerful weekend with Venus in a square to Neptune, and also this week paying attention to the planet of Mercury a little more anyways, because Mercury is entering retrograde shadow this week. This is going to be the 4th and final Mercury retrograde of 2024. And that's going to happen on November 25th, but Mercury has entered the shadow, which means that we're getting the first of the 3 parts of our Mercury retrograde. Now, we also have the planet of Mars in retrograde, so we have some things to pay attention to here, because shadow times and retrograde periods give us the opportunity to go back and redo things and fix things. And so we're entering that time where we need to start paying attention to the things that we are going to, yes, indeed, be returning to. So the mind and the mental strength and the mental powers and the mental capacities are all ruled by the planet of Mercury. So our communication, also a big one. We could feel as Mercury starts slowing down, entering this shadow, that we are having to take a little extra time to do things. The mind starts to slow down. Mars has already entered the shadow also. Mars is the physical body. So the physical body has also begun to slow down quite a bit. And this is going to be the mind and the body doing this together. They're both actually in a trine with each other too, because Mercury's at 4 degrees of Sagittarius, newly entered into that fire sign, and Mars at just under 1 degree of Leo, another fire sign. So we have really moved from a more watery, emotional state to a fiery, to a fiery state where we are more initiators, and we are more looking to have these sparks of our creativity, sparks of our, to initiate things. Fire signs tend to initiate things, and they're not afraid to go out, and it's a very confident sort of a leadership style of energy. So, okay, let's kind of slow down and break this down just a little bit more, because I mentioned a lot of interplay with the nodes of fate. And these are the North and the South node, where when there is interplay here, we can see a lot of cosmic course correction. These are also known as the nodes of fate, the nodes of destiny. So there is a pull, a magnetism, almost like it is something that's going to happen no matter what. If you put things in place, or if something comes along and shakes things to put those things in the place where they need to be, the nodes of fate, the North and the South node, are coming in this week to indeed deliver these cosmic course corrections. And this is exciting. The planet of Mercury is getting to have this interplay while slowing down for the retrograde. So it's almost like, okay, there's a lot that's going to be coming up for us in terms of our communication, our mind slowing down. And so this is an opportunity for us to kind of get a little spark, get a little bit of a boost from this energy to ensure us and to give us that kind of, it's almost like that intuition that we feel when we have that trust with source energy, source spirit, the universe, to indeed have our highest, greatest good in mind. And it's really, really going to give us a bit of a cushion in terms of this feeling and this faith and this cooperation that we have here. After all, that's why we're using the astrology, is to not be told how the universe is going to work in our lives, but actually be given this knowledge so that we can step up, use that information, and live within the cycles of the universe to create a more benevolent life for all. So when these energies are hot and when they're coming in, and this week we could feel these hot moments. There could be, it could be uncomfortable. It's almost like you slip through a little wormhole when you're dealing with the nodes. And so Mercury is going to be delivering a message. Mercury's the messenger of the gods, and is going to be delivering a fated message, some type of information coming through. Later on in the week, on November 7th, that is the day that Mercury officially enters shadow. And I have the information on the degrees here for those who are extra curious. Let me find that. Actually, sorry, I had that all for Mars retrograde, but I don't have that for the Mercury retrograde written down. But it's going to be actually another very interesting 2-sign retrograde. Mars is doing a double sign retrograde, and also Mercury here Mercury is going to be doing the full retrograde in Sagittarius. So those of you that have planets, points, ascendant, anything interesting in Sagittarius, but also everyone has Sagittarius in their chart, no matter if you have a planet or a point there or not. It is still representative of a part of your life, one of the 12 houses that are represented in the astrology by the signs. So that's something that you can dig into in your astrological birth chart and find just this more in-depth information about how this is affecting you in your life personally. It's really based on the house. So look at the Sagittarius area of your birth chart. Which house is that? That's going to be the area of your life that you're going to be going back and redoing things. And Sagittarius is a mutable fire sign. It's very flexible, very okay with making changes. So this is a really kind of neat place for a retrograde to be happening. Can be a little stiffer in more fixed signs and a little looser when we are in these mutable signs. And so another thing about Sagittarius, it's all about wisdom, higher wisdom. This is also an adventurous sign. There is a lot of discussion of philosophy, religion, that is all ruled by the sign of Sagittarius, and also nature. There is a very, very strong pull to connect with nature when there is hot Sagittarius energy about. And Venus is there too. Venus is going to be actually leaving Sagittarius on November 11th. So a couple of planets there, personal planets in Sagittarius. Another quality of Sagittarius is it's like real fun loving, right? It's kind of more carefree and just a little more lighthearted. So that's always a really nice energy to bring in just in general, you know, being able to kind of loosen up, especially after Scorpio's time makes us kind of tight. Scorpio is a fixed sign and the sun is still in Scorpio. So we're still very much ruled by Scorpio energies, which are deep, deep emotional states and also transformative energy. There is a really, really strong transformative energy to Scorpio season right now anyways. The reason for that is because the ruling planet Pluto is at the final degrees of Capricorn. I know you've heard me say this over and over again, but it's so important because the final degrees of Capricorn, we are never going to see Pluto at again in our lifetime. So we are indeed seeing an unprecedented moment here. And because it's falling at such a dramatic moment, there's just a highly transformative state going on during this Scorpio season. The sun's at just about, like I was mentioning, it's 14 degrees as we're speaking today. So we're only halfway through Scorpio. We've got another couple of weeks of this deep dive and this transformative death and rebirth cycle that we go through during this time. Pluto is the also permanent fixer. We go through permanent changes when we have this energy rampant, and Pluto is actually connecting with the nodes of fate. Also, it's within 5 degrees of a trine and a sextile. So we have this really transformative time. It's big. The nodes of fate are really strong with Mercury, the messenger of the gods anyways. And then we have this Pluto that's making these aspects also just really making this transformation happen quickly and permanently. So very, very interesting energy to be bringing in this week. And also over the weekend, I mentioned a square between Venus and Neptune. And this is always an interesting one because Neptune is the higher octave planet of Venus. So when you get interplay between the lower octave personal planets and the higher octave outer planets, it strengthens both of them. And a square is a pretty strong, active, kind of sometimes challenging and difficult aspect in astrology. Venus is the planet of love and pleasure and is in Sagittarius, being all carefree and initiating new things and being a leader, but having fun and enjoying the adventure. And Neptune is at the very final degrees of Pisces. The ruling, Neptune is the ruling planet of the sign of Pisces. So very, very strong there. Neptune is in retrograde. So thinking about things in the past, making fixes there in the final degrees of Pisces before Neptune actually is going to be leaving this sign for our lifetimes also, come next year. So other big outer planet changes also occurring, and Venus is trying to come through and have a nice conversation with Neptune, but it's a challenging aspect, and Neptune is kind of mulling things over, and the energy's a little waned right now. So it's almost like it's not as accessible to feed into the Venusian pleasures, the wants, needs, and desires for Venus to have those pleasurable things over the weekend may not actually be available. There could not just, in terms of how this plays out in real life, we could just have a hard time getting comfortable and feeling pleasure. And so know that this is a passing thing. And this too shall pass, just like the Pluto-Mars opposition that is still absolutely in play right now too. Pluto-Mars in an opposition, Capricorn to Leo. And this is intense. This is fighty. This is argumentative. This is actual physical fights. This is violence. This is irritability, anger, anything that Mars is kind of pushing Pluto to make these transitions and transformations. And there's just a lot of forceful nature to Mars. So it could feel very forceful. So be very careful. I think we are still in a time where we need to be watching out for ourselves physically, taking care of ourselves and the situation around us to avoid any type of accidents that may be wanting to come in. And that's pretty much it for the week. I mean, a lot of cosmic course correction going on, a lot of nodal interplay. The nodes are about to be finishing up in their current signs anyways. And what they do when they move to finish and move signs is they finish the job. So we're in the last 5 degrees of the nodes in Libra and Aries. And so we are scouring through those final degrees. It's like a crisis in action almost. When you get to those final degrees, well, what have I forgotten to do? And it's like a rush almost to get a bunch of things done. But in terms of the nodes of destiny here, they don't have to rush. They don't have to have anything in mind except for our most benevolent outcome. So please know that whatever takes place over this week, the month of November also, next week is intense again. We have the full moon on November 15th. That's the full moon in Taurus. We have Saturn stationing direct that same day. And then also Pluto leaving the sign of Capricorn forever, November 19th. So, wow, these next 2 weeks are highly transformative, very exciting. I hope you're all finding a way to enjoy this beautiful roller coaster ride that we're on. And I love you all very much. And I hope that you have been able to find some good information out of the show today. Take good care of yourselves. Chat with you soon. Peace. Thank you for listening to the Cosmic Community Podcast. More can be found at kpov.org/thecosmiccommunity.